Live from New York. It's a show that's congratulating Clayton Kershaw on a great career. Announced his retirement today, but he's going to play the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Shout out to Clayton Kershaw. We went through the best left-handed pitchers of all time. Had some fond memories of Lefty Grove.
That was a good one. I pulled that one.
Great.
That was a nice pull by you.
Yeah. But the
Self-explanatory.
medal stand of modern baseball is Koufax, Kershaw, and as Danny pointed out, Randy Johnson.
Yeah, big unit.
As the top three lefties. From the list you just gave us,
Probably.
yeah.
Noodles Hahn coming
That's
in.
not modern baseball, bro.
Noodles Hahn?
It's not modern baseball.
Great
I'll
name.
tell that to all the Highlanders fans out there. But right now we're talking Cowboys-Bears Sunday at
Game of the
4
week.
on Fox.
Oh, that line moved.
Again.
What's it down
Now
to
it's
now?
just half point Cowboys. Moving towards the Bears.
Wow.
After moving to the
0.5. Dallas defense allowed Russ to turn back the clock to the tune of 450 yards against a defense led by Caleb Williams' first coach, Matt Eberflus. Do you see a statement game from Caleb incoming?
Well, I have no idea if the Bears are going to win, and I don't feel great about it.
Okay.
but I do feel really confident that Caleb Williams is going to have a great game.
Okay.
I think Caleb Williams will have his best game of the season, which is a very low bar to
I was
clear,
gonna say,
admittedly. But the Cowboys' defense is bad. And Caleb Williams, if you wanted to say anything about him, he's kind of been a bit of a bum slayer through his NFL career. Like he's picked on bad defenses. If we go back to last season, he only had 20 touchdowns. 10 of them were in the 5 games against the bottom 10 scoring teams that he played last year. That passer rating was higher than his season average. The points per game was higher than his season average. The touchdown to interception ratio was actually exactly in line with what he did for the whole year. But again, it was only 5 games, and he had half of his touchdowns against it. And the Cowboys' defense this year, we've all watched it, through 2 games, anyone's been able to get anything they want on this Cowboys defense. Like, Jalen Hurts completed 82% of his passes. Russell Wilson threw for 450 yards, 473 total, second highest passing total of Russ's career. The Bland injury, not much of a pass rush, a banged up secondary. They could lose, but I'll be shocked if Caleb has a bad game.
Well, I'm not sure if you know it, but what you just said plays right into my answer.
Oh.
A statement game is not possible.
For Caleb?
Yeah. He can go out there and throw for 350.
Oh,
So?
I would love to see
It'd be nice.
Wait a minute.
But but here's
Please
my point.
allow me to be happy on Monday if he throws for 350.
If he throws for 350, that's fine. But by statement game, it's like he's arrived. He is that guy.
can't
We're
happen
not
in
going to
one game.
say that after. He hasn't done enough for us to say after one game.
I agree.
Particularly against the Cowboys defense when we saw what Russell Wilson did. Jalen Hurts played well against him. So it would be nice to see him. The bigger statement would be if he doesn't play well at all. Like if he's garbage, then it'll be like, wow, against that defense. Secondly, as you said, why a statement game is impossible. Because he hasn't built up enough. Like, if he had been playing well before and then comes out with a great, we would be like, okay, he's arrived. There's nothing he can do that makes us say, that was it.
No, but
He's gonna
he can
be
take
great.
a huge step, don't you think?
I think he can. This is the thing. He had some great games last year. Not Detroit, obviously not a bum. He had 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Who was the team?
He had a great game
Vikings.
against the Vikings.
The
Yeah,
Vikings,
so
yeah.
he's and Brian Flores. So that's the thing. He's had moments where it was, and those didn't become statement games.
I think also, though, Brew, because you said that the season now is not about the Bears. It's just about Caleb. They win this game with Caleb playing well, and then week 4 is Vegas, and then week 5 is the bye. Do you not think if the Bears win the game, all of a sudden the season is still on life support? Like, season's not
Yeah, it
over
would
if
be
they
on
win
life
the game.
support. And I think he needs a statement month.
That's fair.
He doesn't need just a
but
statement
that's
game.
fair.
He needs
Oh,
a statement month.
So I agree with you that if they win this game, they feel like we beat the Raiders and we've stabilized, and everything we realistically hope for this year is still in front of us. You know what I mean? Maybe
The wild card is attainable.
Right, exactly. Maybe the Packers are 4-0, and so the division's not likely, but everything else is, we can make the playoffs, whatever it is. So I agree with that piece, but they have to win this game for that. As far as Caleb, this is where I would be. I felt like he was better in week 2 than he was in week 1. And I thought in week 1, he was better in that game than he was in the median game from last season. You know what I mean? Like, because it started so well, it obviously got away from him a bit, but I didn't think he was horrible. So if the goal is, and I know you've talked about it's going to be fits and starts and steps back, but if it was, this level, then this level, and then a really good game here, I think you would feel like, okay, you know what I mean? We're less than a month into Ben Johnson's tenure. He is showing progress. Like for this game, one of the things I am looking for is, can he look excellent for a stretch that isn't on the opening script?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. Like that's when he's been.
That's when he's been great. Like those things. Can we see the game where he has a couple wow plays without my old thing with Purdy, without the yikes plays to go along with them? I think those are all steps, and I do think it is a good point that maybe unfairly there is more outcomes that result in major concern than like major relief, in that because of who they're playing, if it goes poorly for the Bears, I'm only talking about when the Bears have the ball. You know what I mean? The Bears defense is a separate thing that might be their undoing to begin with. And I'm also really interested in a storyline we haven't talked much about, but Caleb alluded to it, in this, he is going up against the defense of his former head coach, and his head coach is going up against the quarterback who he knows all the tendencies one can know from a player from coaching him for 12 weeks or however long he did, and who has the edge. Like, does Caleb's experience make him better prepared than he normally would be, or does Eberflus's knowledge about what Caleb's good and bad at?
I assume it's Eberflus.
Well, I'm certainly hoping that Ben Johnson can outcoach Matt Eberflus. I'm very much hoping for that.
Can I play this quote for you? Because I want to be positive about Caleb and Ben Johnson, because I feel like the pendulum has swung. And then I heard this quote from Ben Johnson, and I was like, ugh, this is a head in the hands quote. Okay. But I want to play it and get your reaction. Take a listen.
I think our practice habits are yet to reflect the championship caliber team.
No, it's not head in hands. I've been waiting for a Bears coach to hold the team accountable for a long time. Like, the underrated subplot of this game is that they're not saying it because they're 0-2 and they need to just focus on getting their first win. I can tell you without any shadow of a doubt, there are guys in that locker room who do not like Matt Eberflus, who blame him for that season getting away. Jaquan Brisker was very open about that on social media repeatedly. Jalen Johnson called out after that Detroit game on Thanksgiving. He was a captain on last year's team. He's obviously not playing in this game, but he really butted heads with Matt Eberflus. They felt like he was not coaching them hard enough, holding them accountable enough, not taking accountability when he was forgetting to call timeouts in big spots. Like, there was a real oil and water situation there with Matt Eberflus and a lot of guys in that locker room. You talk about vibes. If the Bears lose at home to Matt Eberflus, that will be devastating inside that locker room.
And can I just real quick, because you said that almost like obviously Eberflus has the edge in the Caleb's knowledge versus Eberflus' knowledge. My rebuttal would be, I think holistically you're correct. But I think if this is one of the only games Caleb's played of his career where it's like, oh, it's not a blank slate going in. Like, I have an idea of what the other guy's going to do. I think one of the reasons maybe he had that successful game against the Vikings was because he had seen them before. You know what I mean? Like, so there is like an element of when you're that, I think you're right that in general the coach would have an edge over the player in that. But I just think the jump in Caleb going up against coordinators he's never seen, schemes he's never seen versus one he has seen in theory and practice more than any other one might be significant for him.
Okay. 1-1 Steelers are going to head to Foxborough against the 1-1 Patriots. Aaron Rodgers has a simple recipe for getting the Steelers back on the right track. Danny, what would a loss to the Patriots mean for Aaron Rodgers?
It would be really bad. Like, because you guys pointed out earlier, the schedule early was when they were supposed to cook. But I would also posit that there's been no team, because you see there, the Vikings now no J.J. McCarthy, Cleveland, they get Jake Browning, Cincinnati. We'll see. This is when they're supposed to, if they're going to have another winning season under Mike Tomlin, they're supposed to eat. But the first two games for Pittsburgh have just been weird. Like, the formula was supposed to be top 10, top 5 defense and above average offense and above average quarterback play. And in week 1, they get 4 touchdowns from Aaron Rodgers. But for the first time ever under Mike Tomlin, they've allowed 30-plus in back-to-back games to start a season. This is simply not sustainable. Like, Aaron Rodgers is pacing for 60 sacks. That would be the most of his career. He's not. The defense has 5 first-round picks healthy. They're the highest-paid defense in football, and they've played the Jets and the Seahawks. So, like, if the defense doesn't get right against New England, all due respect, not exactly a juggernaut offense, Aaron Rodgers at this stage of his career is not capable of carrying a team to a great season by winning shootouts.
Especially if he's limping. And listen,
He's taking too many hits.
He's getting beat up, man. And when he is getting, like in this last game, when he didn't get the ball out immediately, they were wholly unproductive. He turned the ball over, he got sacked. He had a passer again. Favorite, reminder stat. You get a 39.4 passer rating for spiking the ball, and he had a 28.5. And so, like that to me is likely what's going to happen here. And for me, Brew, what a loss would mean is the season's dead on arrival. Like, because week 1, I think it is fair to say the Steelers are not going to have a top 5 defense this year. I think 2 weeks in, I think if you allow 32 to the Jets,
top 5 is tough.
Yeah, and I
Could
think
they have a top 10? Possibly.
Yeah, I'm not going to write that off, but I don't think they're going to have using top 5 as placeholder for dominant. So let's say it gets better and they just have a good defense. For a team with just a good defense to then have a good season, you also need a good offense. I don't think they're going to have a good offense, and I think that they will need to significantly change how they're running their offense if they want Rodgers to play all 17 games.
Yeah, if they lose this game, it could really get ugly.
Yes.
If that and I mean not just, I think they're only going to lose so many games with Tomlin. So they might be 9-8 or 8-9.
Ooh.
But the hope would be gone. Like, obviously those players came into this season with a ton of hope because of Aaron Rodgers and a few other things. And if you start 1-2 when you haven't played a tough schedule yet, and you lose a game to the Patriots that you think you're better than, I just think, what's Rodgers going to say? If not this week, in 2 weeks. He's already, I feel like, taking a shot at Calvin Austin, the receiver. And so what little thing, that's when maybe he's, it gets ugly with some of his comments like it did with the Jets.
I also think Aaron might already be anxious about, is this team good? The Aaron Rodgers that I know from afar, I obviously don't know him at all, but from his press conferences, is not a guy that if he feels really good about a team's chances in a game, is going to, before the game, be like, whoever wins and loses is kind of an overrated fact.
It wasn't.
You know what I mean? And so that to me is more of a precursor to, if we lose, which I think we might, I want to be able to say, you know what I mean? Oh, yeah, well, like I told you guys beforehand.
Just trying to have fun.
No, not even necessarily that, but that, we thought this was possible, but we saw good building blocks. It's a long season. He seems to be setting the table for that.
You know what I think is going to happen this game if Aaron Rodgers loses? He is going to look old compared to Drake May.
Well, yeah.
And it's a storyline that, like, Drake obviously, idolized Aaron Rodgers. But I remember seeing, shout out to Mac Jones, when I realized, Mac Jones, we might have some limitations. Mac Jones versus Josh Allen, and it was like a similar situation, and the play broke down, and Mac Jones got sacked, and Josh Allen, ran for 20 yards. I was like, oh, seeing it right there. What's the story about the Chrysler? Everything looks like a Bentley or whatever. You know what it is?
Yeah, the Chrysler Transit looks like a Bentley till a Bentley pulls up next to it.
When you see Drake, I was like, oh, this guy can do significantly more than you can.
Yeah.
And maybe 4-time MVP Aaron Rodgers could beat the Patriots, but 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers can't. Also, good chance we just penalize ourselves out of the game. And
There we go.
Putting that out there. Rams in Philadelphia in a heated matchup. Remember this. Last year, Brew, in that playoff game, Matthew Stafford almost won.
Oh, yeah.
Sunday at 1 on
hearing
Fox.
that.
Yeah. Jalen Hurts has not aired the ball out much at all. lack of explosive offense on Jalen Hurts?
Well, it's either on him or the new OC. And you know what I mean? I'm not there. I don't know, obviously, what the reasoning is. But the stat you had earlier, KW, they've thrown 0 passes 10 to 20 yards down the field is impossible. They have attempted more tush pushes this year than 10-plus yard passes that Colin had is ridiculous. Yeah. And they have the horses. And so, I'm going to keep hammering this point. I think this is so different than last year. Last year's Eagles offense was explosive. It was explosive because of how great Saquon was, and they mixed in more passes than this year, but it was explosive. Last year's Eagles team was not the 2000 Ravens. You know what I mean? Where it's like ball control, you know what I mean? The ground and pound. No, that was a high scoring, not high flying, but high scoring offense. This year's Eagles offense has not been, and it is very, very difficult for me to believe there have not been times where A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith are open down the field. He has not thrown the ball down the field to A.J. I think A.J. Brown has 8 targets and 7 are on slants.
Yeah, he's got 6 catches for 35 yards.
Yeah, and I mean, and so like that is very difficult for me to believe. And it's not that, well, he hasn't had time. He's had plenty of time.
Well, that's the thing. Like, the statistical profile of this, I don't have a great comp for it.
There isn't one.
But I wanted to put it together because I don't know that I've ever seen a quarterback, and it's just 2 games, so maybe this will feel ridiculous in 2 weeks, but he has plenty of time to throw, 7th most in the NFL. But he's throwing the 2nd shortest in the NFL. You'd think the more time to throw for longer developing routes. And with all of that time to throw, he's scrambling more than anybody in the NFL. And as you mentioned, no attempts in the intermediate, which is where A.J. Brown has been one of the best players in football the last 5 years. It's a profile that makes so little sense. And even as a guy who is a Jalen Hurts skeptic as a passer, this feels to me like such an outlier that in 6 weeks we'll be like, okay, this has come back to normal.
Keep up.
This is just ridiculous. And he played Dallas.
Yeah.
I'm putting it on the OC because right for now, it's too early in the season for me to put anything on Jalen Hurts. Like, he's just earned, not to the point of Mahomes, but he's earned the benefit of the doubt for me. You know, so first game, he was really good with his legs, but still was really good. Last game, Chiefs are, a tough game and all that, but I just think this has to be more offensive coordinator than Jalen. He's not afraid to throw it down the field. He's not afraid to throw it in the intermediate. So it has to be on the offensive coordinator. It can't be on Jalen.
KW, I'm going to do to you what you did to me all through last year.
Uh-oh.
Concern level. Because you haven't been, you have not been quite, Brew, tell me if you agree with me, quite as peacocking about the Eagles once the season started as you were all offseason. I don't know that. I think you sent one Jalen Hurts tweet all year.
I retired it.
No, but you could send new tweets. I'm just curious. Like, you seem, I know you pretty well at this point. You seem a little unnerved. A little.
I like margin of victory.
Oh, okay.
I'm a margin of victory type of guy.
Okay.
I don't like squeaking by. And it doesn't feel like, these have felt like preseason games. And maybe that's because Jalen didn't play in the preseason. With a new OC, you should have gotten out there and worked a little bit. But I assume this will change because this is not going to work. I think Jalen knows it'll change. I assume it will work, but I'm not out here.
I'm going to go on the record, guys. If he doesn't have, and this is a low bar, at least 200 yards passing, they lose to the Rams. The Rams are going to put up points on that Eagles defense.
Remember, they beat him in the playoffs last year, but he had 125.
Yeah, I understand, but what did Saquon have, 200? That was the game. Yeah. Saquon slapping himself in the helmet, running down the field in the snow.
So in the week 12, he played the Rams, and the divisional round played the Rams. Saquon had 460 yards.
Yeah, I mean, you're right.
So it's a weird thing. If it's open, good. So we might have another game. I assume the Rams are going to try to stop that. Another game where it's like, this is a Saquon and running game.
The Rams, all of them are supposed to be Saquon and running games, right? The question is, if Saquon gets hurt or is taken away, can Jalen Hurts do
also, a little bit of lack of creativity. I remember we thought, like, after A.J. Brown had that one catch, we're like, well, they're going to do something unique.
No, they're not designing anything.
Nothing.
And the Rams, by the way, since week 10 of last year, in games Stafford has played, he sat out Week 18. They're undefeated except for the 2 games against Philly. They're 0-2 against Philly, and I think 9-0 against everybody else.
Hey, welcome to Frenemies. This is my friend Nick. I'm Danny. This is where we bring the group chat to you on national television. And we should score this because I'm undefeated.
All right, that's fine. You're 1-0. 1-0. I don't know what happened in Week 2. You're 1-0. That's fine. Gianna, put it on the blog.
All right, perfect.
Yeah.
So Sunday night.
Do
we have a blog?
No, I don't think so.
Your Chiefs are winless. They're here in New York taking on the winless New York Giants. They are 6-point favorites. Yeah. But more so than just the record, it's been very weird watching Patrick Mahomes. He normally saves his running for the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, of course. He's their leading rusher through 2 games by a long shot. He's pretty competitive. In a possibly related story, Patrick Mahomes is on the injury report after all of this running.
Yeah, the injury report thing's weird because he's full participant in practice and it's his right wrist, and the last pass we saw him throw was his best pass of the season.
Yep.
So I don't totally get it, and I haven't asked about it, maybe because I'm afraid to hear the answer.
Yeah, exactly.
But that one I don't totally understand, but go ahead.
Do you consider your Chiefs vulnerable in this spot?
Well, I consider the Chiefs vulnerable for the season? Yes, I have to be honest. This is the worst I have felt about the Chiefs since going into week 8 of 2021. And that year, they were coming off getting blown out in the Super Bowl. Mahomes had never been beaten by more than 8 points in his career. Then they got blown out in the Super Bowl to Tampa.
Yep.
Then week 5 of that season, Buffalo blew them out. And then week 7 of that season, the Tennessee Titans beat them 27-3. They were 3-4. That's kind of the low water mark of the Mahomes era. Now they, of course, still ended up in the AFC Championship game because that's the floor for the ceiling. Or for the season, since Mahomes has been there. So holistically, yes. Sunday night, no. And
are you willing to go 0%?
Yeah, I'll go 0%.
You're going 0% again. Okay.
Yeah, because and I know you're trying to sell me this bill of goods on because they're only 6-point favorites.
Well,
it has to be a losable game.
Well, you've gambled long enough to know that objectively it is.
No,
but go ahead.
I've gambled long enough to know that is a way to measure the game, but not the only way to measure the game. So I want to ask you this question before you give your answer.
Okay.
Do you honestly believe it is more likely the Giants, as 6-point underdogs, beat Kansas City this weekend to put the Chiefs at 0-3 than it is the New Orleans Saints, as a 7.5-point underdog, beat Seattle? Because I don't.
No, I don't either.
Okay, exactly.
No, I don't either.
So it's not.
But 6 and 7.5 points, they're very close.
Yeah, but
in terms of one is statistically a little bit more likely to happen,
Yes.
and I will give the Chiefs the benefit of the doubt there. No question about it. My thing with the Chiefs, man, we are more aligned on the Chiefs than most things. This particular Chiefs thing, though, they can't run the ball. They can't rush the passer. They can't score. I look at them as vulnerable. They had a 16-play, 49-yard field goal drive in that game against the Chargers. They blitzed the Eagles more than any game since Spags has been their defensive coordinator, and they still only sacked Jalen Hurts 2 times. I am just not convinced. What are they good at right now?
Right,
what are they good at?
No, listen. Right now, honestly, they're good at employing Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
I agree. I agree with that. But I think
any team can lose if that's the only thing you're good at.
I think the fate of the fall of the Chiefs' offense is maybe a touch overstated. If we're gonna say that, listen, Week 1. I thought they played a terrible first half that I think was derailed by Xavier's injury. And I've made this point a number of times, I want to make it again. I think it is so different missing a player for a game than a play into a game, losing a guy who you expected to have.
He's in the game plan.
And for that game, he was the centerpiece of the game plan. I thought the second half against the Chargers, the offense looked good. In the Eagles game, are we feeling like the Chiefs' offense is broken if they scored 24 against Philadelphia? Which is, I guess they wouldn't have had, I don't know if they would have scored the last touchdown, but you know what I mean? I'm adding the touchdown that came off the board with Kelsey. Probably not. And I do think Xavier is going to play this Sunday. Personally, I would be fine if they saved him for Baltimore. I think they can beat the Giants without Xavier Worthy. And so, to me, it's 2 different conversations. Are the Chiefs Super Bowl caliber? Right now, they are not. I think they will get there. are the Chiefs going to have their season essentially end at the hands of Brian Daboll and Russell Wilson and the Giants?
Listen,
I do not think so.
I'm not predicting them to lose either, but I've not been that impressed with the Chiefs defense. We just saw what Russ did last week, and I understand that's against Dallas, and I do not think the Chiefs defense is as bad as the Cowboys defense. But if the Giants score 24 points, I'm not positive this version of the Chiefs gets them. I'm not positive of it, man. You dubbed this the revenge tour.
Yeah, and
it's
then
off to a rocky start.
Well, yes. Listen, the Rashid's suspension happening when it did, and Xavier getting hurt, and I'm not putting it all on that. They have to be able to run the ball better. I'm not denying that.
And rush the passer better.
Correct. And so Chris needs to play. The two guys on the Chiefs D-line who got paid, Chris Jones, who's a future first ballot Hall of Famer, and Karlaftis, who got paid this summer.
Sure.
Those guys need to play better. There's no question about that. But I think that we are potentially 10 days away from the Chiefs beating Baltimore in Kansas City, the Ravens sitting at 2-2, or if they lose to Detroit 1-3, the Chiefs being steadied, and the September champs of all time, the Baltimore Ravens, everyone being like, oh, we sure had that wrong.
Just one more time, 0% that they lose this game?
0% the Chiefs lose to the. I told the guys I'd shave my head if they did, but they said I'm not allowed to. They don't want to have to redo our photo shoot.
Oh, I would love to see you go back.
Yeah, go back to the shaved head look.
Would the wardrobe go back?
No, the wardrobe would not go back.
You dress a lot better now than you did back when you had the shaved head, no problem. Meanwhile, in Tampa Bay, Nick's Super Bowl pick, the Bucs host the Jets.
We don't talk about that enough.
Well, yeah, it's a good start for your squad. They're 7-point favorites, Tampa is, which makes sense considering it's the Jets. They are 2-0, electric game-winning drive against the Texans. Those uniforms, by the way, used to be mocked. When Baker wears them, they look pretty cool.
Well, the creamsicle uniforms are, I think, sick.
Yeah, they look really good. Do you now consider the Bucs sneaky Super Bowl contenders?
So
I feel like everyone's caught up to you.
This was I got to tell you, this is an insulting question.
That's why we did it.
I picked them to make the Super Bowl before they started the year with back-to-back stunning victories. Now, they just lost one of their guards potentially for the year. I don't love that. They also have a right tackle injury, and Wirfs hadn't come back. And so Baker,
3/5 of their offensive line out for this game, most likely.
And so that's a concern as far as their ability to cover the 7 for sure. Maybe even a concern for their ability to win. But and I think we might be aligned on this. Once people acknowledge that we are going on now close to 30-game sample from basically the midway point of Baker's first year with the Bucs to right now of Baker Mayfield being an elite quarterback, having a real argument that in that always open 5th spot that you have given, Justin Herbert by birthright, that Baker Mayfield deserves to be there. If you have that, Todd Bowles' game management all of a sudden looks sharp after the first time. The defense is going to be at least decent because of Bowles, and you have all these weapons, 2 good running backs, 3 good receivers when Godwin gets back. Why would they not be true Super Bowl contenders?
Right, well, in Vegas now, they're 4th in the NFC.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy when you think it's Packers, Eagles, Lions right next to each other, a little bit of a gap, and then the Bucs, and they're tied with the Niners and the Rams. You said a little vulnerable in this game. The schedule after this week is a really tough stretch. It's a bad time for them to be banged up. They were a very healthy team last year. After this Jets game, it's Philly, Seattle, San Francisco, and the Lions for 4 straight. So I don't want to say they need the game. They're 2-0. It's not a must-win by any stretch, even by the first things first definition of must-win. But the schedule gets very difficult after this. Their offense, though, does have a ceiling if their tackles get healthy, of being the best offense in the NFC.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And you know my philosophy. If you've got an elite offense, it doesn't really matter about the rest of it. You can win any game.
And so this is why I think that those first 2 weeks were so critical, because I didn't think they played great. They were clutch, and Baker made big plays.
Correct.
But they're 2-0 with 2 last-second. If we can throw that schedule back up, Christina, please. Sorry, I should have told you. 2-0 with 2 last-second victories, essentially last second, on the road against 2 teams that going into the year we thought playoff adjacent for Atlanta, have a real shot, and playoff favorites in Houston. And while you're right that weeks 4 through 12 There are some soft spots, but it's tough. There is no team in football with a right side of the schedule like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And so I think that they have a real shot to not only get the 1 seed, but because I think the NFC East and the NFC North are going to provide some real resistance, and the NFC West is going to, it looks like, provide resistance within the division, but they can also be red hot going into the postseason. Like, that right side's almost too easy. Like, and when easy is the wrong word, but you're not going to play a playoff caliber team for 6 weeks, I don't think, going into the postseason. Yeah, I think the Bucs, and I also think Baker Mayfield MVP is very on the board.
Oh, get the bet in now.
Very on the board.
Get the bet in.
Who says I didn't, buddy?
Okay, I don't know the whole log.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.